we've been talking because we come from the global south. So we've been talking about the effects of imperialism over us. And now me and JB, we are queer people, and we are interested in seeing, thank you, Russian Flag. If you saw my face before the makeup, you would say differently. Anyways, but we are wondering about the effects of imperialism on the LGBT, I was like LGBT, the LGBT community. And we are all Black here, so we're coming from that perspective as well, right? It goes a bit deeper than racism. In the end, it's all racism. And we are finding ways to like talk about it, because yesterday JB was in a panel with me, the latest panel I had, and we were making parallels, like, see, the police is also killing Black people in Brazil. See, like, because I think once people learn about the commonalities more than the differences, then we can make that bridge. Unfortunately, in my own opinion, as an observer, an outsider, our brothers and sisters in the US are isolated from the American community. I'm going to translate. A gente está conversando sobre, desde ontem, no painel que teve com o Brizola Neto, com a Isa Tapuia, com o André Constantini, sobre os efeitos do imperialismo no sul, né? No sul global, que é tipo a África, o Brasil, os países da América do Sul, e a questão dos efeitos desse imperialismo na gente. E eu e o JB, a gente é queer, então a gente está trazendo a comunidade LGBTQ, porque a gente quer também entender esses efeitos na nossa comunidade também, né? A gente também é preto, a gente fala dessa perspectiva da pessoa preta no mundo, mas eu acho que quando se trata de imperialismo, que é, na minha opinião, o estágio mais cruel da supremacia branca, ele vem um pouco ainda mais profundo, sim, não mais profundo ou menos profundo, não tem como comparar, que o racismo, mas ele tem mais camadas, né? Eu queria resumir para não perder a ideia. A gente quer entender essa perspectiva, porque eu, morando aqui, observo que a comunidade americana é bem isolada, sabe? Das questões mundiais, e eu acho que é de propósito. Então, quando a gente aprende as coisas que a gente tem em comum, né, opressão, né, fica mais fácil deles se solidarizarem com a nossa luta, tá bom? So that's the conversation for today. I first would like for you to introduce yourself, Leandro.
Bom, boa tarde a todo mundo. Primeiramente, eu queria dizer que vocês começaram cantando Aretha Franklin, e eu amo Aretha Franklin demais. I love Aretha Franklin so much.
Vou traduzir. So Leandro is saying, good afternoon. First of all, I just wanted to say that you started singing Aretha Franklin, and I love her very much.
Isso me tranquilizou demais, eu tava super nervoso, então amo.
Oh, that made him calm because he was nervous and he felt home. Oh, with me and JB, you don't need to be nervous. We're gonna make sure you're like happy, having fun.
You don't have to be nervous at all. Trust me, you're good. You're home here.
Não, você não precisa ficar nervoso comigo e com o JB. A gente vai te...
Bom, me introduzindo, meu nome é Leandro, tenho 23 anos. Eu moro no interior de São Paulo, aqui do país. E sempre estou ativo no Instagram falando sobre questões políticas, sociais, questões de recorte racial, de recorte de gênero, de sexualidade, enquanto uma pessoa LGBTQIA+. E estamos aí, né, no corre.
So he's saying, my name is Leandro. I am from São Paulo, the country part of São Paulo, and I am an influencer and an activist. I'm always talking about the concerns and situations in the LGBTQP plus community. We touch things like racism, gender, and many other things. Pode ir, Leandro.
E estamos aí, né, tentando influenciar as pessoas de uma forma positiva também, tentando fazer com que as pessoas se identifiquem, se apeguem às suas raízes, né, porque é isso que a gente precisa. É isso que eu vejo também.
And we are here to get to do this work so we can learn about our roots and move forward. And I think that's what is needed. These are his words. Leandro, what are your pronouns? Quais são seus pronomes?
Ele, dele, ela, dela, elo, delo.
Awesome. So elo, dela is they, their.
They, them.
Thank you. So they, them. He, his, and ela, dela, right? She, her.
She, her. Yes.
She, her. So Leandro goes by he, his, she, her, and they, them.
Yes.
We could start by touching the subject. Like, we speak, it's funny because like I am always like trying to understand, because Portuguese and every single Latin rooted language is very gendered, right? Like, you say you have an object that is it's either a female or a male. Even if it's an object, you have to use a árvore, which is like the tree. In Portuguese sounds like it's like always a female tree, just as an example. And how is it working with, because English is very, I know y'all not gonna agree with me, English speakers, but I have to tell you that English is very gender neutral compared to all the Latin rooted languages. So how is it going with the transgender brothers and sisters in Brazil or in other countries that you know about that speak Latin rooted languages, with the changes in the language? Como estão as mudanças nas línguas latinas com a questão do gênero? Porque inglês é uma língua de gênero neutro, bem mais neutro, né? Você tem que querer falar que é ela, que é ele, que são eles, né? E, na verdade, o eles e elas não soa como ninguém tá ganhando aí de maioria, né? They, não tá falando de ser mulher, ser homem, tá falando they. Então, como é que tá sendo essa questão no Brasil com a questão do gênero? Como que vocês estão trabalhando, né? Como que as pessoas estão trabalhando essa questão do gênero? Eu quero pegar alguma coisa para anotar, então vai respondendo que eu vou anotando.
Bom, tá sendo uma luta, na verdade, porque tem um pessoal que acredita nisso, tem um pessoal que não acredita e fica essa briga assim, né? Eu vejo bem mais esse lado para o lado virtual, na verdade, onde as pessoas se posicionam mesmo, elas utilizam os pronomes, né? Tanto neutros quanto ele, dele, ela, dela, mas ainda é uma luta diária para conseguir as pessoas se adaptarem, né, com esse formato, com essa configuração no dia a dia. Se a gente fala, eu vejo muitos amigos, né, que são não binários ou transgêneros, que não se identificam com os gêneros ele, dele, ela, dela, e é sempre uma luta, assim, uma violência constante. As pessoas não conseguem aceitar, né, tudo isso, e é bem difícil essa cena, mas a gente está na luta, né, tentando fazer com que as pessoas entendam que são como as pessoas querem se identificar e pronto, não tem o que você fazer enquanto a isso, né, porque é uma identificação e tem que ser respeitada do mesmo jeito.
So Leandro is saying that it's been a fight. I see people, my comrades, trans and non-binary comrades, fighting to position themselves and to be called the way they want to be called, and suffering violence every day because they are positioning themselves and saying like, these are my pronouns, because they have to find a way to make, they don't have they, you know what I mean? Because I was telling Leandro, they is very gender neutral. In Latin rooted languages, it's it has to be or for female or for, like, it's super binary. And then the trans and non-binary communities suffering violence every day because of like, they have to position themselves and fight for that. But Leandro is saying they won't give up, and Leandro won't give up as well. JB, do you have any questions that you want to jump in with?
Not at the moment, but
okay, I put you on the spot. I was like, I'm gonna put JB on this spot now.
No, but
no.
I just want to thank you for being here, because a lot of times we get what's going on here in the United States about, queer issues. I'm going to say that instead of LGBTQ every single time because it's a little easier. So we get that perspective here a lot, but we don't get the perspectives throughout the world and how it's linked to our own liberation, as well. For instance, when has anybody talked to anyone from Saudi Arabia who is queer and what they're going through as far as that's concerned? A lot of times, a lot of these countries that are now oppressing queer people, if you trace it back, a lot of times it's from imperialism by introducing, the different religions and different types of thought that basically is anti-queer into that people. Like, for instance, in Ghana, they have, an anti-gay bill, anti-gay law in Ghana. And it's like, well, where do they get that from? Where do they get those values of oppressing queer people from? And sometimes they get it from the people who basically colonized them. Because if you look at all the African nations, they're basically colonies for European nations. And so because of that, then you get this type of mindset where, and a lot of them tend to, believe Judeo-Christian religions, and they want to be oppressive towards queer people. And so this is something I've noticed around the world, and it's actually had a major impact on those of us who, like, we just, here in the United States, those of us who are queer, we just got the right to marry a few years ago. So it's very interesting to see.
O GB tá falando, tá te agradecendo por estar aqui com a gente e tá falando da questão da opressão contra pessoas queers, e ele falou que ele vai continuar usando o termo queer, porque I think I'm gonna sneeze. Ok. Ele vai continuar usando o termo queer porque é mais fácil do que ficar falando LGBTQ+. E ele falou também, tá falando da questão da opressão de pessoas queers no mundo. De onde vem isso? E esse pensamento que ele tem de que está vindo das raízes do colonialismo, né? Tanto, isso aí é uma nota pessoal. Você tem traços que vão bem atrás na civilização americana, que as pessoas transgenders, elas eram consideradas deuses andando, então elas tinham aquele respeito na tribo, não tinham um instinto natural de oprimir, na verdade tinha um instinto natural de adorar, né? Então, como que isso influencia, né? E de onde está vindo essa violência? Qual que é a sua opinião nisso? E eu vou anotar para traduzir, e às vezes te interromper só para falar assim, fez uma frase, eu traduzo, só para não ficar perdido, para não ficar...
Certo. Eu vejo também, partindo desse ponto da colonização, né? Também tem muita influência da religião, principalmente aqui no Brasil, né? Sobre isso. E tratando de religião e questões sociais, a gente sempre vai ter um impasse nisso tudo, porque tem muita influência também. E por ser um país, né, considerado como laico, mas a gente sabe que não é isso, na verdade, que acontece. Mas a gente está sempre em constante luta, tentando mudar esse quadro, né? A gente vê também nas religiões de matrizes africanas um certo respeito em relação a isso, muito mais respeito do que a Igreja Católica ou qualquer outra religião que venha da colonização. E várias pessoas queers aqui do Brasil fazem parte, né, dessas religiões de matrizes africanas, justamente por esse respeito, né, que eles encontram dentro da religião, mais do que na igreja ou qualquer outra religião assim fora disso.
Okay. So Leandro is saying that he sees the roots of this violence through colonialism. When I was translating to him, we were talking about the fact that you trace back to African populations before colonialism. They actually considered transgender people gods walking on earth. Mm-hmm. There was no natural instinct to oppress. There was actually a natural instinct to adore, right? As you do with a god, like you adore a god. Mm-hmm. And he sees that too, like it's traced back to colonialism, mm-hmm. and especially rooted in religion and also class, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. Because that here too, right? In that intersectionality, the white gay man has way white transgender woman has way less. So like, not to compare the pain, but like also to be aware that if you are a white queer person, please fight and support your brothers and sisters that are not white, right? Mm-hmm. And then he says, like, we live in a country, he's talking about Brazil, where it said it's neutral about religion. But we learned here yesterday that the evangelical church created by CIA are actually created to spread propaganda as a form of a cult, and it's switching and changing the culture. So he says the queer community in Brazil, they find way more freedom to be who they are in religions that come from African roots, the Yoruba religions. When we say that in Brazil, we're talking about the Yoruba ones. Mm-hmm. Because Brazil was heavily influenced by Nigeria, which is the Yoruba root of it. And I know a girl from Nigeria, she says it's the old religion, I think. I think that's what she calls it, the old religion. For us, it's not old at all. It's still on and going. We call it candomblé. And there is a whitewashed one that's called Umbanda. And in these kind of groups and Yoruba-rooted religions, everybody can be who they are, and there is more respect. So the queer community, when they are looking for community in religion and spirituality, they end up going to towards the Yoruba religions.
There's and as far as colonialism, which is absolutely right. When you think about the indigenous here, and I think it might have been in the indigenous in the South as well, but here in the North, from what I've read, is that the indigenous used to call people who were trans, they called them two-spirit. And so they still had a place in the community instead of being ousted. And even when it comes to things like monogamy, that's something that was also introduced by a lot of either the Judeo-Christian religions or as well as colonialism. And, there's a lot of things that it basically means that there's this push to constantly create more workers for the machine. Oh, you're not procreating with the opposite sex to create another human being, okay, then we're condemning you. All, you know, and it goes into the patriarchy that we have exist today, as well as the colonialism that looks at people like us and says, because we are not attracted to the opposite gender, then that means that there's something wrong with us because we're not helping to create more workers for the oligarchs. And so that's part of the system that continues to perpetuate. And it takes our human value away because we're not producing other human beings for them to exploit.
Eugenics. It's also like the fact that the system is built so you can be unhappy. So that's why I always say in this channel, joy is a revolutionary act.
Yes. Yeah.
Because if you were happy, you were going against the system. Yeah. But no toxic positivity, please. This is for the white women in yoga pants. Anyways, Leandro, o JB tá falando sobre a experiência dos povos indígenas americanos. Ontem eu aprendi com a MST que a gente fala dos povos indígenas estadunidenses, né? Que na verdade, eles são americanos, porque eles estavam aqui antes dos Estados Unidos acontecer. Que quando eles viam uma pessoa... Em português é transgênero? Que quando eles viam uma pessoa transgênera na tribo, eles chamavam aquela pessoa de dois espíritos. Aquela pessoa tem dois espíritos. Então, aquela pessoa tem o lugar dela na tribo, ainda tem o lugar dela na tribo, e é uma pessoa que é chamada de dois espíritos, que é lindo, né? E que também conceitos como a monogamia, né, e o casal binário, isso também é imposto por colonialismo, né? Ele fala que é um sistema que obriga a gente a trabalhar para poder produzir dinheiro para os oligarcos. Tem essa palavra em português? Oligarcos? Não. Para os bilionários.
Isso, oligarquia.
Para as oligarquias, obrigada. Desculpa.
Perdi também.
Eu não lembro mais uma língua. Tem essa questão para a gente ficar produzindo dinheiro para as oligarquias, e aí o JB faz uma conclusão que é muito interessante, que é a questão do sistema meio que impor o casal binário para que você case e tenha filhos, né? Quantas pessoas homossexuais já não fizeram isso na vida? Case e tenha filhos para que você continue produzindo pessoas para o sistema, para trabalhar para o sistema. Aí eu fiz complemento e falei, porque, na verdade, a alegria é a prova dos 9, né? A alegria é um ato revolucionário. Se a gente mantém a nossa alegria na alma, a nossa alegria preta, a gente consegue, desculpa, eu perdi completamente. Não, a gente consegue se conduzir no mundo. Mas a gente é revolucionário se a gente mantém a nossa alegria. Mas eu queria saber a sua opinião sobre essa coisa que ele falou, dos casais binários serem impostos como uma questão social, meio que até para puxar, né, para empurrar essa coisa de continua trabalhando naquele círculo vicioso de, né?
Bom, é complicado a gente seguir essa linhagem, né, com pessoas LGBTQIA+, porque pessoas queer, né, porque as pessoas não esperam isso, né, sempre estão jogando a gente para marginalidade, para o espaço público, né, que é a rua. Muitas pessoas transgênero aqui no Brasil, transexuais, principalmente mulheres trans, são jogadas para marginalidade automaticamente, né, para as ruas. Então, a gente não vê muita perspectiva de trabalho, e se você não tem trabalho, você não tem dinheiro. Se não tem dinheiro, você não vive. É basicamente isso, né? Tudo gira pelo capital, tudo gira pelo trabalho, pelo emprego. Então, se você não tem isso, que é a base, né, você não tem nada. Então, não tem como a gente falar disso sem ter uma vida saudável, né? Ter gerar renda para essas pessoas também, porque senão a engrenagem não gira. E eu vejo essa cena muito forte, porque várias pessoas que eu conheço, amigos meus, eu mesmo, né, fiquei desempregado por muito tempo. Eu estou com carteira assinada, que é CLT, o sistema de trabalho aqui do Brasil, que garante leis, enfim, questões monetárias, há um ano. Então, assim, eu vi esse impacto, principalmente quando você é uma pessoa LGBT e é preta ainda por cima. Aí as questões, elas triplicam, né? Os acessos, eles se fecham. É uma frestinha que você consegue, né, disso tudo. E acho que tá bom, né, para você trazer, isso não é muita coisa.
So Leandro is bringing that to the present moment, and he says like, well, yes, it's definitely rooted in colonialism, the fact that they want us to be binary couples to produce more people to work. But what we don't know, and what we're going to start learning, hi America, soon you're going to start learning about that on your own skin. Countries in development, third world countries, have a rate of unemployment that is super high, super high. But the rate of unemployment that's super high is targeted towards queer and Black and Indigenous community. It's really rare that a white person in third world countries, and I think like it's really rare that you're unemployed. I mean, and then you can see like the levels, like Leandro says, like Brazil, we have a huge queer population, and the transgender women, they are cast out. They are cast out. They cannot get jobs. They cannot be respected. They cannot be called their pronouns. Also, in his own, in their own in their own situation, Leandro has, like in Brazil, to work, you have like a document that looks like a passport. Your employer is gonna write on that document and sign it. That says you have a job. So that document, he has like that sign, but he's also suffering from unemployment, which is a trace of being Black and queer. And it doesn't matter if you are educated enough or not, that is going to count against or in favor. So then you are excluding, to your point, JB, then you are excluding queer people from even having a job, because they are like against the system that wants you to be binary and produce more humans to be workers.
Yeah. And just to go back to what you were saying, and one thing I noticed that was said throughout this summit is that every person has been pointing to the oppression of people within their country. The United States always has something to do with it. It always goes back to the United States. And even when you were talking about about how the CIA was pushing this evangelical type of practice. Yeah. And so it's pushing this anti-indigenous, anti-queer, anti-humane type of practices on people who pretty much had it all figured out a long time ago, before colonialism ever came in. Because the indigenous people had it all figured out. I just came across this article. If you don't mind, I'm going to share just 1 second.
Please.
It just came across my purview, so I just want to share at least the first part about it.
Is it still, so Gato, it's still breaking up? It's breaking up for everybody. Sorry, somebody complained about the sound breaking up. I just want to know if, because I hear you both fine, so I'm just.
Can you guys hear us? People in the chat,
I
are we
think
still coming in clear?
yeah. Sounds fine for me. Yeah, it's
Okay.
fine.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, all right. Thank you so much. But this is an article called "Indigenous Sexualities Resisting Conquest and Translation," and it's interesting because in the first paragraph, let me give the credit to the authors. The authors are Manuela Alpic and Josie Takuna. I just want to make sure I put that. So it says sexual diversity has historically been the norm, not the exception among indigenous peoples. Ancestral tongues prove it. And I don't want to mess up this word, but Wanchitin, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Wanchitin muxes are neither man nor woman, but a Zapodic gender hybridity. In Hawaii, the Mahal embrace both feminine and masculine. The Maori term takatapui. Takatapui. Okay, I was close. Describes same-sex intimate friendships. And since the 1980s, it is a term they use alongside the term queer. Non-monogamy is the norm among Zoe peoples in Amazonia and the Ladakis in the Himalayas. In other words, indigenous sexualities were never straight, ranging from cross-dressing to homo-affirmative families. They are as diverse as the people who practice them. But if native terminologies referring to same-sex practices and non-binary, fluid understandings of gender existed before the emergence of LGBT frameworks, why are indigenous experiences invisible in international sexual rights debates? Language shows that indigenous queerness in its own contextual realities predates the global LGBT framework. So it basically talked about how before colonization ever came about, they already had this figured out. It was already set societally. And so it feels like humanity is going back to the way we used to be with indigenous communities. And I'm not just talking about indigenous communities here and throughout the Americas. I'm talking about indigenous communities in the Africas, indigenous communities in Asian countries, all over. So we're reverting back to a framework where we see humans as more diverse. Our diversity is not just in our skin. Our diversity is in our sexual orientation, our relationship styles, because we also have to acknowledge that, because some of us, let's be honest, some of us aren't made for monogamy and some of us aren't made for non-monogamy. But the thing is, we're discovering this part of ourselves again. And so it's almost like, and I want you, I would like Leandro to answer this too. Does it feel like colonialism is losing its grip when it comes to us going back to our original state when before colonialism?
Yeah. The freer the human being, the bigger the threat. Vamos lá, Leandro. Então, o JB estava mostrando um artigo falando que as comunidades indígenas no Havaí, elas chamavam as pessoas por um termo que abraçava nesse termo o feminino e o masculino. Que essa coisa de binarismo, o Brasil vai me odiar. Gente, não fica com raiva de mim. Eu tô fazendo o melhor que eu posso. Chega uma hora que a língua fica doida na minha cabeça.
Estamos aprendendo todo Brasil mundo junto. Estamos aprendendo junto, amiga.
Amém. Não, axé, porque amém é coisa de colonizador. Anyways, Guys, I don't want to just do like internal jokes. I'm laughing because as I try to speak to Leandro in Portuguese, I'm messing everything up. And it's like I've never spoke Portuguese before, and I'm asking, Brazil, please don't hate me.
Oh,
But like, ok. O JD tá perguntando. Aí ele mostra esse artigo e aí ele fala, tipo, a nossa diversidade não está só na cor da nossa pele, ela está na forma que a gente se relaciona com os outros, ela está na nossa orientação sexual, ela está na forma que a gente se organiza socialmente. E que algumas pessoas, por exemplo, são feitas para serem monogâmicas e outras não. E que isso está tudo bem. Né? Que esse sistema que quer colocar todo mundo na mesma caixinha e oprimir, né? Isso é tudo isso é opressão. Quanto mais te tira a liberdade, mais é opressão. Não tem como chamar de outra coisa. E aí ele pergunta, porque você falou no começo que você está voltando, sua luta também é voltar para as suas raízes, né? Então a pergunta que fica você sente que o colonialismo está perdendo assim, esse poder branco, está perdendo a força que tem quanto mais a gente se volta para as nossas raízes humanas?
Nossa, totalmente. O trampo também que eu ergo no Instagram é muito sobre isso, né? É sobre você se identificar, você ir atrás das suas características próprias, das suas raízes, seja na música, seja nas artes, seja no cinema, porque tem tanta coisa produzida por gente que foi produzida e é produzida ainda, né, por pessoas pretas, pessoas LGBTQIA+, periféricas, e que não estão no mainstream, que não estão hypadas, né? Que estão lá no popular só as produções de pessoas brancas e, né, padrões, enfim. E é muito importante, sim, a gente ir atrás disso, para a gente quebrar com isso, né, esse sistema. Por mais que o que esteja hypado são produções que a gente não se identifica, a gente sabe para onde voltar, a gente sabe o que nos pertence, né, onde a gente pertence também. É super importante tudo isso.
So Leandro is saying that, yes, that 100% of the more you go back to your roots, the less power white supremacy has to keep your mind colonized. And that, because like, to be quite honest, Vikings have no roots. That's my personal opinion on that. Fight me. And that's like, and he says like his work as an digital influencer is to like push the young Black queer community to go back to their roots. Even non-white community, the more you get, the closer you are to your roots, the freer you will be. And he touches like about even religion and especially art. Like art, music is a form of connection with your soul, with your roots. And he says like in Brazil, like we have 54% of the population of African descendants. And still people in mainstream media, they're famous, they're like big pop singers. Anitta, everybody in the US knows Anitta now. Anitta in Brazil is white. You know what I'm saying? Like people that are in the mainstream with chances of succeeding, they're always white and feeling that binary kind of white supremacist dreams coming true, right? And pode ir, fala, meu amor.
E ainda assim, né, o que a gente consegue resgatar disso tudo, seja no funk, seja no samba, no rap, que são gêneros, né, criado por pessoas pretas, vindo de pessoas pretas, as pessoas brancas ainda conseguem tomar de assalto essas coisas, né? Conseguem se apropriar disso tudo, seja da cultura, da estética. Então, quanto mais a gente se firmar nessas raízes, né, nesse solo, né, da nossa identidade, mais a gente consegue derrubar o homem branco, a louca.
Isso aí. Pode soltar o fogo, aqui não tem censura, não. A gente tem um canal até ele ser fechado, depois tudo bem.
Ah, eu amo.
Appro- Eh, so he's saying like, and he interrupted to say, because when I say Anita, it's because, yeah, it's very touching, because like you have Ludmilla. Ludmilla is a queer Black singer from Brazil. So everybody's now getting in touch with Brazilian funk music, right? The one that they are dancing the passinho and like shaking the booty. That's the Brazilian funk music. This is coming from favela. This is coming from Black people. This is Black rooted music. But the ones that we know in the US, they look very white. They look like the Latine figure in the US, which is that white woman like Sofia Vergara. That, no, she's not white, she's Latina. Uh-huh. In my country, she's very white. Covered anyways, race and ethnicity can never be stressed enough. And he says also like, I'm using he, but he said he was okay with it, so I'm just gonna go with the flow, but try my best to not use, because I want to learn other pronouns beyond the binary. And he says like, and we see like whenever we go back to our roots, especially in music and art, like you have in Brazil, you have samba is African, funk music is African. Every single Brazil is very rich in rhythms and dances. They are all indigenous and African rooted. There is no dance in Brazil that came from Europe. There's nothing like that. And what he says is like, the people, the white people, the Latinos, they take over and appropriate, cultural appropriation. Because the more they appropriate our identity, the less we know who we are, and then easier to be oppressed, right?
Yeah, and thank you for that. There's just a lot of overlapping things, even when it comes to music and culture and things like that, that colonialism has had an impact. Uh, I should say that colonialism has tried to take away from those of us, and so you know, even how even how we interact with one another, because uh, the whole thing about how colonialism affects queer people, and I'm trying to tie it back into what I was saying earlier about how they just want um, this heteronormativity to reign supreme so that they can produce more workers. Um, there was the African proverb that says it takes a village to raise a child. Where in that phrase said it takes a mother and a father to raise a child? Where in that phrase does it say it takes a man and a woman to raise a child? It never says that. It's very broad, basically talking about the village of people, basically meaning I'm an uncle. I help raise my nieces and nephews. I'm part of that village, right? If someone is non-binary, but they're instilling good values into the children in the neighborhood, that's part of the village. And growing up, I'm a child of the 80s. Hello, millennial here. Nice to see you. And so and so a lot of us, when we grew up, coming up, we knew the people in the neighborhood, and sometimes, we would learn things from people in the neighborhood. I remember being a little kid and going to the neighbor's house, and I would sit there and play with a toy, and they'd be watching TV, and they would let me just stick around at their house. And I could have been playing outside, but I just gravitated towards this older couple, and they were an older white couple, and they were like, "Oh, okay, yeah, you can come in." And she had a cat, and I played with the toy in a car, and that was that. But that was part of being a village, right? And so I think that as we get closer towards our roots, we'll realize that colonialism is taking us away from being human. It turns us from humans to robots, and we're trying to resist becoming robots. Your thoughts?
I just wanna make a little point there. There is a book that's amazing, and I think every single person, every single African rooted person should be reading. No. Every single Black person from Africa, because now people are calling Elon Musk African American. So like, let's specify that too. Okay. Every single person that's Black and has their roots in Africa should be reading a book called The Spirit of Intimacy by Sobonfu Somé. Sobonfu Somé is a philosopher of the 20th, 21st century, and she was from a tribe. She says tribe in her book. That's why I'm saying tribe too, okay? She is from a tribe close to Burkina Faso, and I think it's the Dara people. And she became a teacher in Harvard University. And she makes a parallel in this book how things worked in that social organization in the tribe and how things work in the West. And by the end of the book, you're like, I'm moving to that tribe. I want to be there with them. What am I doing in the USA? Like, why? And all the principles you see, the natural instinct of principles is of community. So the child in the tribe, they see every single adult as a mother and a father, as a maternal, paternal figure. It doesn't say they see the women as mother and the men as father. It just says every single adult is a paternal, it's parental figure. Like they are raised by the village. And there is white philosophers from Greece that stole that concept already from Africa. What's his name? Plato wrote I have it here. I think it's under my computer. Oh, the Republic. It is under my computer. Sorry. The Republic that he wrote, saying that the child should be taken away from the family, which I mean, he did it in a way that like Nazis after used that, like every imperialist place in the world uses that concept, but like child should be taken away from the family and raised by the state. So in other words, I know it sounds horrible, but he's white. He cannot make poetry. But he definitely stole that concept because of the observation of the tribes that the child is not taken away from the family and raised by the state, because there's no state in the tribe, but they are raised by the community. And that wakes up the sense of community and respect for each other. Because the nuclear family, as we know, mommy, daddy, little boy, little girl, that creates a selfish, disconnected figure. The nuclear family is the utmost colonial bullshit. Because it creates that like mommy and daddy and boy and girl, and we have this little family, that's the nuclear family. We don't respect anybody else outside of it. Right? So that's imprinted in the human brain. Vamos lá! What o JB estava falando dessa questão que eu também trouxe, dessa questão da criação na família nuclear, né? O papai, a mamãe, e essa ideia binária da figura masculina que tem uma função na família, a figura feminina tem outra função na família. E aí eu vim com um exemplo, e ele quer saber sua opinião sobre isso, e aí eu vim com um exemplo do livro da Sobonfu Somé, que fala dessa coisa da criança na tribo ser criada pela tribo, né? Ele falou uma frase, eu esqueci a frase, desculpa, mas ele falou uma frase e falou, nessa frase não tem nada falando assim, o pai é isso, a mãe é isso. Você precisa ser um pai e uma mãe para criar uma criança. A criança tem que ter uma figura adulta para ela se guiar, né, na descoberta do mundo, e que esses conceitos não são binários. E aí eu acrescentei que o conceito binário, ele vem do colonialismo, né? Porque você cria a família nuclear, você cria mais separação, né? A minha família tem isso, a sua não tem. Tem aquela coisa do time. E ele queria ouvir sua opinião nisso. E esse comentário aqui está falando, para uma criança ter raízes, elas precisam de aprender de muitas maneiras diferentes e pontos de vista. A comunidade.
Certo. Gente, a gente deveria todo mundo se juntar, todo mundo feminista. É isso que eu apoio. Porque, assim, essa lógica, né, essa visão do feminismo, ela surge muito da equiparação, né, das funções, dos gêneros também. Essa coisa, tipo, de o homem não ser mais que a mulher, nem a mulher ser mais do que o homem, mas todo mundo ser nivelado, né, equiparado, assim. Tem até um livro, se não me engano, que chama Sejamos Todos Feministas. Eu não lembro qual que é o autor. Desculpa.
Peraí, rapidinho que eu vou procurar o autor aqui. Mas certo. Pode falar.
Então, e esse livro fala bastante sobre esse sistema, né, essa visão de como o mundo seria melhor se a gente seguisse essa linhagem assim feminista. Porque desde pequeno a gente é imposto pra gente essa coisa do azul, do rosa, dessa separação, né, dessa divisão das funções, e a gente tem sendo criado, né, com essa visão de que todo mundo é igual, que todo mundo no mesmo nível, no mesmo solo, é muito melhor para o futuro também, né? Eu estou falando de uma coisa assim muito utópica, eu acho que não vai acontecer do dia para a noite, né? É tudo muito construído, assim como o colonialismo, o machismo, o sexismo, o racismo, né? É uma coisa construída, estrutural. Mas eu parto também dessa ideia de que não deve ter isso, as funções são para todos, né, para todo mundo pode fazer tudo, e eu acho que é por aí.
So Leandro he starts responding by saying, we should get together, all of us, humanity, and we all should become feminists. Because feminism is the philosophy that takes away the white male-centered whole, of this constructed concept of how a society should be organized. And the example of book that Leandro brings to us is the book We Should All Be Feminists. And I love that Brazil is so Nigerian, because like the author is a Nigerian woman. Is the Nigerian author Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. And it was first published in 2014. And Leandro brings this book as an example. And I like that the book is from a Nigerian woman, because we can understand, because Africa, it's a maternal place, right? It's a maternal power. And I'm not going to say feminine. I'm just going to say maternal. Okay?
Yeah. Their culture is very maternal, yes.
Because that's the concept that Leandro wants to bring. Because like when you are knowing that nobody, if you are feminist, and I love that Leandro says that, if you're a feminist and you're unlearning the colonial concepts in your mind, and you are learning the maternal principles of motherland, then you can destroy the Eurocentric white male-centered community. Because then you start erasing misogyny, misogynoir, you start raising respect, and then you understand the harmony, because the maternal energy brings harmony. The paternal energy is for the hunting, it's for the survival, it's for like the fire, right? The maternal energy, but the paternal energy, without the maternal energy to bring harmony, is the world we have here now in the present moment, 2021.
Mhm.
It's
22.
imbalanced. Sorry, yeah. Ooh. Whatever. I think the world ended in 2002, and we are living in a weird hell that puts us
Yeah.
through this shit.
Yeah.
Anyways, and then like Leandro also brings the fact that it is hard. It is a hard fight to decolonize your own mind, to destroy these concepts that were constructed for so long. Because until 2022, we still live by these concepts that were brought to us how many thousands of years ago.
Mhm.
And they were brought. We didn't have them. They were brought and imposed by violence. I write Isa Tapuya, the Tapuya indigenous woman that was in the stream with us yesterday. She was saying like in her nation they learned the Franco language, which is I for now forgot the name, and then they had to learn the mother language that they have before, and then they had to learn the Portuguese. And she was like, imagine, it's like 300 years of violence. So imagine the violence imposed because we're like, oh, learn a language. Not for indigenous people, not for African people. Colonialism is imposed with violence.
Mhm.
So like these concepts, we learn them out of violence.
Mhm.
So to unlearn them is difficult. It's difficult because we have to go through our own traumas, and it hurts.
Mhm. Yeah. There's a point that I want to make, and yes, I've been reading the chat. Is that when and I think you can agree with me, Josana, when we were talking about the nuclear family, we're saying that it can't just be just the nuclear family to help raise a child. It has to be more than that. It has to be the nuclear family, and then also the village as well, helping to not only raise a child, but to also help take care of each other. Because as we noticed through colonialism and capitalism, is that there's been a separating taking place, and it's been breaking apart tribes. And so a tribe is basically multiple different families, right? A tribe or a village. But if you start breaking that up, then you start to separate people. And the thing is that what we're talking about is bringing people back together. So much so that the village and the tribe are basically like one big family. And that's basically what we're talking about. And so much so, I'm gonna get religious on you for a second. Be prepared.
Sing.
In the Bible, everybody makes this quote wrong. They'll always say blood is thicker than water, which is wrong, because the actual Bible quote says the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb, meaning that the bonds of family that you create outside of blood are stronger than the ones that you have blood ties with. Why is that? It's because heart to heart, right? Creating that village, creating that tribe with one another. And so what we're saying is, yes, still continue to have that bond with your mom and your dad. But nuclear family is called nuclear for a reason, because it's the nucleus of a cell, right? Let's think about scientifically, a nucleus of a cell. But what is also outside that nucleus? Everything else that helps that cell to operate. And so it's the same thing with families, and villages and tribes, because you just can't expect the parents to just help raise a child. You also need the village to also help with that as well, because that is what it's all about. And so that's what the point is. And the thing is that what we're saying is that capitalism and colonialism has been breaking apart villages and tribes, even to the point where now it's considered abnormal to not have a tribe. It's so individualistic, and it puts people in these little boxes. So that's what we're trying to say, is that we need to go back to the way it used to be, because that's when we had these bonds. And so with these bonds, we start to have fellow feeling. I love that phrase, fellow feeling. And then once we have that, then guess what? When that person hurts, you hurt. When that person has joy, you have joy. Remember what you said, Josana? Ubuntu, right? See, I learned. You taught me, I learned. So through that, then we practice that. That's what the oppressors, that's what white supremacy, that's what colonialism does not want. It does not want a unified humanity. And this is the thing that we're coming to. And the thing is, part of unifying with humanity also means accepting people who may be a different type of human than you. Some of us who are non-binary, some of us who are two-spirit, some of us that may, be attracted to the same gender. And that's okay. But the thing is that we're all still living through the human experience. And so that's one of the reasons why we're having this conversation, because imperialism has been breaking humanity apart for the means of self-aggrandizement.
Wow. Yeah. Ooh. Have you been to church today, people? This is your church right here. If you were not touched by these words, if you don't feel holy and divine right now, please wake up, because I do feel like that. O JB tá falando daquela questão na Bíblia que Jesus fala assim: quem é minha mãe, quem são meus irmãos? Né? Que ele dá aquela povo, Jesus, tua mãe tá te procurando. Ele estava falando com o povo, quem é minha mãe, quem são meus irmãos? Minha mãe e meus irmãos são essas pessoas que estão aqui. E aí ele explica esse conceito de não família nuclear, né? Que nós todos, né, somos a família. E que quando a gente fala da família nuclear e comparando com o imperialismo, o imperialismo ele vai quebrando, separando, partindo tribos, tirando as pessoas daquela condição de união. Por quê? Porque aí a gente ganha se a gente está unido, né? Se a gente não está, a gente perde. E que essa separação ela vem causando essa dor, e que às vezes existir divinamente, né? Existir com respeito um ao outro e com a qualidade de convivência como família, talvez seja o único caminho. Mas que é um caminho que o imperialismo não quer que a gente descubra. Porque o imperialismo ele quer destruir as raízes de amor dentro da gente, para que a gente possa se perder e aí ser mais fácil de ser controlado, né? Eu fiz uma interpretação, viu, Leandro? Eu tô percebendo que você entendeu que eu fiz uma interpretação, mas é porque eu fiquei muito envolvida com as palavras. Eu não sou tradutora.
Gostaria de dizer amen pro JB. As palavras realmente foram, nossa, cruciais, assim. E realmente, eu vejo muito essa potência aqui na América do Sul com os coletivos, né? De pessoas pretas, de pessoas trans, pessoas queer. Poxa, os espaços de recreação, que são as festas, né? Que tem também carrega um contexto histórico aí da América do Norte, com as balls, com o Vogue, que começou lá atrás, né? De pessoas pretas e trans periféricas se criarem num lugar, num espaço, para poderem festejar e criar esse espaço de imaginação, né? Com as runways que tem as categorias, poxa, tipo Vogue Femme, e que dá interpretação para profissões também, de você criar essa vida do seu imaginário, do seu ponto de vista, né? Eu vejo muito forte essa movimentação de economia criativa, essa geração de renda aqui no Brasil com esses coletivos, porque realmente são espaços onde as pessoas se sentem livres para elas serem o que são, para elas poderem ganhar dinheiro, né, através das festas, através da arte. E eu acho que é muito importante a gente criar essas alternativas, esses caminhos que vão paralelo ao imperialismo, né? Até mesmo para a gente se sentir bem, confortável, porque, poxa, a gente vai procurar emprego, a gente não fica confortável de qualquer maneira, porque você tem que se adequar ao que o lugar está pedindo. Então, vestir roupa X, se comportar de tal maneira, não pode ter tatuagem, essas coisas assim, né, antiquadas, e, enfim. Então, a gente criar esses espaços alternativos, né, é muito importante para a gente se reconhecer enquanto comunidade, a gente se juntar, a gente, enfim, ir gerando renda e gerando lucro, né, para conseguir derrubar tudo isso.
Yes. So Leandro is saying that the alternatives that the queer community found in Brazil, based on that, like getting together as community and like outside of society, nuclear family, is that they created collectives. There is one that's called Vogue Femme, and others. And these collectives, they generate jobs, they support the queer community with psychological support, and then they make parties. And then they make parties because that's what we were saying before. Joy is revolutionary. So they are dancing together, they are getting together, they are getting contact, and they are telling the young queer community, it's okay to be who you are. You are accepted here. Here you are welcomed to be who you are. We will respect you. So they are trying to create what I think the queer movement here in the 70s did a little bit, where like you will hire in your company if they are from this community. You will like they're trying to fight with their own, because transgender women in Brazil cannot find a job. So they are creating all these alternatives to the queer community, and then that they feel like they are in a family. So it doesn't need to be my family, because many times the family won't accept the queer person, right? So the nuclear family will say no, but then there is this collectives, the Vogue Femme and others, they're being the family for that person. So they get together, they do parties, they find jobs for them. They like, if you sell products, they will buy from you. Like they are doing this kind of work in order to push the community. And that's just what you said. Like there's no daddy and mommy, it's everybody together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The community is bringing up the raising the people, right?
Yeah.
Rising with the people.
Yeah, and the thing is that you can still do it. Like, if I have a child, will I still be the parent of that child? Yes, but I'm also getting help and assistance through my community, right? What, like, okay, let's put this out here. Let's go scientific. Every single human being on this planet is related. I don't care if you go the religious route, we're all related. If you go the atheist route, we're all related. We are all cousins, okay? Leandro is my cousin. Josana is my cousin.
Yeah.
So with that being said, okay, when we talk about tribes and villages, they're just localized portions of family that are helping to raise someone. So I'm depending on my cousins, my aunties, my uncles, my grandparents, my big brothers and sisters and other siblings. I'm depending on them to also help, right? With that being said, then yes, it takes a village, right? It doesn't stop me from being their father, right? But at the same time, I also get help from the village. And that's the thing. Look at how many parents today are so swamped with just the responsibilities of taking care of their child that they need to get help from people. What is a babysitter? What is asking your mom or your father? So that's the whole thing. I mean, I don't want to stay too much on that point, but yes, you know, I think that imperialism really did a number on us as far as those of us in the queer community and how we interact with one another. And I love that. What was the name of it again? The when their nuclear family, when they reject them and they go into this new family. What
Foster
was the
child?
name?
No.
What? I'm sorry.
No, foster child? Sorry.
No. You were talking about
Something.
how
Oh,
they
the
were,
collectives, the
yeah, the
community.
collective, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's really creating a new family, another village, you know. And so I think that's wonderful because that's still going back to your roots, because we get to a point where naturally we will always go back to what is necessary for us to survive. And becoming a village is necessary for our survival. Going back to our roots is necessary for our survival, because we noticed that colonialism and capitalism had led us down a path to the point where we're dying. We're dying all the time. And it's not just death from physical things. We're dying from not being able to interact with people as much as we used to. We're dying of diseases like depression. And this isolation is killing us. So, yeah.
Before we go to War Pilgrim's comment, because I want to understand, because I don't understand the phrasing. I want to translate an idea of what you just said to Leandro, the people from Brazil that will see this or watching it. Então, a ideia que o JB tá falando é, tipo, ele toca nos coletivos que você já acabou de falar sobre eles, e ele também fala dessa frase que tem em inglês que fala: precisa de uma vila inteira para criar uma criança, né? E que essa frase não fala assim, precisa do pai, precisa da mãe, precisa da irmã, precisa de uma vila inteira para criar uma criança. E que o capitalismo, o imperialismo, eles estão matando a gente, né? Todos os dias. E que quanto mais a gente volta para as nossas raízes, a gente precisa de voltar, porque essa é a única oportunidade que a gente tem. A gente precisa ser uma comunidade. Porque como os coletivos que você citou, a família nuclear muitas vezes fala: você é queer, você é transgênero, sai daqui, né? E aí essas comunidades, esses coletivos estão falando: não, aqui você é bem-vindo, aqui você tem família. E aí vão ter esse momento de aceitação. Aí essa pessoa fez esse comentário que eu vou ler para você em português, né, para as pessoas que estão assistindo a gente, porque eu preciso entender o que é, porque eu não entendi direito a frase dele. Ele fala: não estou certa de que eu concordo com essa análise. Mantendo as crianças na comunidade, é preferível que ter eles caindo no sistema de adoção, ou adotados numa forma que... Ou adotados numa forma que tenha laços com a comunidade. Eu acho que é isso. Eu perguntei para o JB para me ajudar a entender. Você quer falar alguma coisa antes da gente explorar o comentário?
A respeito do comentário?
Não, a respeito do que o JB acabou de falar. Se você tiver só se você tiver algum comentário, senão a gente pode seguir.
Eu acho que ele amarrou bem a conversa. Não tenho mais, mas vamos discutindo sobre.
Vamos discutir esse comentário. So, JB, I was translating what you just said, and Leandro 100% agrees. I'm not understanding the phrase on War Pilgrim's comment, but I translated the comment already, so we can discuss it. Like, I want to understand what they are saying there. War pilgrim, if you are in there still, please help us in understanding the phrasing on your comment.
So I think Where Pilgrim was answering someone, I think 3, 9, and 6. Where Pilgrim was talking and saying, not sure if I agree with that analysis. Keeping the kids within the community is preferable to having them fall within the foster care system or adopted out in a way that severs ties to community. So basically what we're saying, Where Pilgrim is, it sounds like an agreement with what we're saying, is
Say
that
war. Sorry.
So basically meaning that raising a child in the community is better than leaving it to the system to be raised by the state.
Got it.
So that's basically what the point is. So
got it.
Yeah.
Então, okay. Okay. Because I was not understanding where pilgrim, because my brain is 5, 4,
okay.
3, 2.
Me too. Look, I finished all my tea. I'm all out. I'm gone.
Me too. I'm like, please help me.
Yeah.
Então ele estava concordando, o comentário estava concordando com a gente e falando que é melhor que a criança esteja na comunidade do que ser retirado pelo sistema. Porque aí eu vou falar uma coisa em português que eu vou traduzir para o inglês e aí a gente vai para as respostas. Você sabia que aqui tem campo de concentração para criança latina, né? Que vem na fronteira com o México?
Não sabia.
Então, existe um campo de concentração na fronteira com o México, no Texas, que as crianças, porque tem uma lenda, né, para as pessoas que estão atravessando pela fronteira ilegalmente, que se eles trouxerem criança, é mais fácil eles serem aceitos. O sistema de imigração aqui fala, se você está vindo como refugiado pela fronteira, tem que se entregar para ser preso, para depois você ser aceito para salvo. Não é. Você vai ser preso, deportado, blá, blá, blá. O Obama... eu adoro desmascarar o Obama para pessoa preta. O Obama foi o criador dessas jaulas. Eles separam as crianças dos pais e as crianças nunca voltam para casa, porque pela lei americana elas só podem receber julgamento quando elas têm 18 anos. São crianças indígenas que às vezes não falam nem espanhol, tá? Que estão numa jaula com um policial que não tem nenhum supervisor, que provavelmente está abusando, porque eu tenho gente dentro das jaulas me falando isso, está abusando ela todos os dias. E ela está aprendendo inglês dessa pessoa. São crianças pretas também que sofrem racismo das outras crianças latinas que não são pretas, que estão isoladas nas jaulas, e são crianças latinas em geral, que vão ficar, às vezes, de bebê de colo até 18 anos esperando julgamento. E mais de 2.500 crianças desapareceram porque foram no sistema ilegal de adoção para as famílias ricas, e são sempre as crianças brancas latinas. Agora eu vou falar para eles o que eu te falei em inglês para a gente depois discutir isso. So since we're bringing up I'm telling Leandro the story because people from Brazil don't get the news from here. Guys, you have no idea how imperialism works. Propaganda works so well. People from the South have to learn that USA is like this amazing place where you have money to buy stuff.
It's not. It's not.
Yeah, and I am like de-propagandizing. They hate me so much. But and I was like unmasking Obama for Leandro because I told Leandro I love to unmask Obama for Black people. Because I was telling Leandro that the cages were created by Obama, right? And that the people that cross the borders, the children, are taken away from their parents. And they're put in concentration camps, cages without parenting. And most of the time, these are indigenous children that don't speak English nor Spanish. These are Black Latinx children that are casted away, like they're isolated because of the racism from the other kids that are non-Black. And these are Latina children. They are in cages, and sometimes they are a baby like this, and they are gonna be staying in the cages because of the American law until they are 18 years old, so they can be heard by a judge. So, and also 2,500 children disappeared from the cages, and there's no proof because they were never let there's the proof, but there is theories that these children were adopted in the illegal adopting system, which is like the white Latina children are taken away for adoption by rich families in the US. And the reason why I'm saying that is like the system is already co-opting the revolutionary points of like a child that's not raised by nuclear family, but they are doing that in a horrible way because that child is in a concentration camp, is in a cage, being abused by a cop that doesn't have supervision over them. I have a person inside that worked as a volunteer in the immigration system, and I interviewed them, and they told me like these children are abused in a daily basis because the cops in the cages, they don't have to report to no one. And we know how the head of the pig goes. So I was telling Leandro that so we can have this discussion about like, oh, so we cannot go back to our roots and raise our children and like with the village, but you can take away children from their community and throw them in the white supremacist system. Leandro was like mesmerized by that.
But let me understand. This happens and like now, like
Right now, we're
today.
talking here, and the children are being tortured. Yeah, I had the
I'm
same reaction
gagged.
in 2019 when I discovered. I had the same reaction, and I got a little bit cuckoo because people in my work, they were working and they were like, "Oh, are you gonna go to this party in the weekend?" And they were all white American. "Oh, are you gonna go to this party?" And I was like, "Which party? There's children in cages. I wanna party." Because like when I discovered that children that look like me are in a concentration camp, since that day, my biggest dream is to go there with my bare hands and open them cages. And they should fear me because when I get there, I will do that. I will do that. So the cruelty of the USA, my love, is it has no limit. It knows no limits. Well, they bomb children all around the world. They are right now bombing Palestinian children while we talk. In the last day of Ramadan, the Ramadan Mubarak for my Muslim family, like they don't care. They are starving Yemeni children to death. They starve our children to death. The reason why we have Bolsonaro now is because the USA sponsored the coup d'etat against Dilma Rousseff.
I am like, what can nobody tell us in Brazil about this? The media, the newspaper, like the TV. We are living our life without knowing this happened in here. It's like terrible, terrible. I'm really
That's
gagged.
terrible. I'm
But
so sorry that I was the one to break the bad news.
yeah.
Like,
But it's the same thing here in the United States. We don't know what's going on in Brazil. And when we find out about the coup d'etat that happened, we're like, that happened? How many people from the United States didn't know about the OAS and the coup d'etat that they tried to do in Bolivia against Evo Morales? They don't know. The people here in the United States don't know because we're brainwashed. We're all that's all of us. We're constantly brainwashed into thinking the United States is the greatest country in the world. And it's not. And guess what? you know, people like you, Josana, you like Leandro, people all over the world are taught the United States is the greatest country in the world, so that you'll come here and be a worker and be do slave labor, wage slavery, because that's basically what they want. They just want you to come in and work, but they don't want you to work to create a better life. They just want you part of the machine, and so they lie to you too.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the United States, and that's how it operates.
And it's so crazy to see, like, sorry, it's so crazy. It's lack of vocabulary, guys. I'm sorry. I'm like, rah. Usually I am already, but like, but it is mesmerizing to see like how the impact of that on you, Leandro, right now. Like your expression, you're like, And I'm not criticizing you. I'm just like letting people know. I'm pointing it out so people that are watching can see the effects of this country in a person. The effects of the foreign policies in this country in an actual person. Because we talk about the wars, but we're not there. We don't feel the bombs that are falling in Palestine. We don't feel the bombs that are falling in Yemen. They're not falling here. We don't feel the famine. We don't feel the pain of the children. But like, look at Leandro right now. And you can see the effect of the USA, this creation of the devil in people.
E assim, aqui no Brasil ainda a gente está passando por um cenário tenebroso, né, na política. Assim, é um ano de eleição aqui no Brasil, então a gente vê esses efeitos assim diariamente, constantemente, seja no trabalho, no transporte, na mobilidade, na recreação também, né? Porque a recreação, a economia criativa é importante, o lazer é um direito que é constitucional, que está na lei, isso para as pessoas. E a gente vê os efeitos do mundo todo, né? A gente está aqui no Brasil, a gente às vezes fica um pouco cego do que está acontecendo no resto do mundo, mas realmente, igual coisas que você falou, estão acontecendo e que são de urgência, assim, né? Calamidade pública. É bem complicado.
Yeah, Leandro is saying like, because in Brazil we are also going through a very horrible moment right now in the politics, with the politics that we have. I'm gonna call dog a dog, Bolsonaro, right? And we also like, because we try to bring our joy up, because it's in the Brazilian constitution that the moments of leisure are a right. One day we're gonna talk. Let's make a show, JB, where we compare both constitutions. You're gonna see the differences. Yeah, you're gonna see the difference of the constitution of the third world country. And anyways, and then he's saying like, we live our right because it's in the law that we can have leisure and pleasure, but we are going through a scenario, also a war scenario with Bolsonaro, and we also are going through that, all that, without knowing about the things that go on here. And then I will add that that's the importance of this summit. Why I was pushing so much. No, I'm gonna translate. Let's do this. Let's bring people. Let's talk to them. Like Karim and Peter brought this guy from China yesterday, and he was awesome. Like, we need to talk to each other, because that's what they fear. Mm-hmm. What the system fears is that we sit and have a conversation. Why do you think there is YouTube channels being taken down? Mm-hmm. It's because we're having a conversation. And now I know what Leandro is going through, and now Leandro knows what I am going through. And then we see the commonalities. And we start by understanding that the only solution for the revolution is to be worldwide. Mm-hmm. And our relatives in the north can know that we are ready to fight alongside you, but please, you've got to decolonize your own minds, because that internal work belongs just to you. And I would like to, like, we going a little bit over time with Leandro. I told them 90 minutes, but like I would like to bring up the Leandro has in their profile, he says he's a pan African American, but he's using I'm translating because there's no translation in Portuguese in English for that term, because they say Pan America Franis América. Como você fala do Pan América?
Pan-América. Nossa, deu um branco agora. É
Pan-Africanismo, não?
Isso. Pan-Americanismo.
Pan-Americanismo, which is like that Pan-American Union amongst African people in Americas. I'm saying Americas, so we know that's North, Center, and South. And because that's my perception as an outsider, right? I'm in the US and I'm like, these people have no clue. These people have no clue that we need a Pan-American Union if we want to defeat this monster, which is the empire. Because the more I want to fight and know only about the perks of being in the US, then I'm still imperialist. Then I'm still colonized because I'm only worried about myself. But our actions reverberate on everybody. It's like you throw the rock in the water and the little waves go. Right?
Yeah. Actually, that's
butterfly effect.
Yes,
Sorry.
definitely. And this actually kind of leads into what you were talking about yesterday. And this is a question that I have for both you and Leandro. So as far as the unity, the Pan-African unity, right? In the context of being queer, do you think unity is possible, and how do we go about it?
Ok. Leandro, você já entendeu a pergunta, mas eu vou traduzir para a galera. No conceito de panafricanismo, né, dessa união panáfrica de todas as pessoas da África se unirem. Você acha que é possível, não, com os olhos da comunidade queer, né? Você acha que é possível? E se sim, como que a gente pode começar a construir essa união?
Bom, na comunidade queer não tem como a gente falar dela sem fazer esse recorte racial, né? Porque existe ainda a comunidade queer, mas ainda a gente tem pessoas pretas dentro da comunidade queer. E quando a gente delimita, né, esses campos, faz esses recortes, as coisas ficam muito mais complicadas, né? Então, assim, até mesmo para ir em alguns espaços de festas, enfim, dos meus amigos mesmo, eu fui me conhecendo enquanto pessoa queer, né? Mas ainda assim é um trabalho me conhecer enquanto pessoa queer e preta dentro desse recorte. Então, as suas relações mudam, o seu jeito muda, o seu estilo, tudo é um pouco mais complicado, né? Quando você é uma pessoa preta. E é você encontrar mesmo esses coletivos, esses grupos, né, de pessoas pretas dentro da comunidade queer, para você se unir, porque não são muitas, aquelas desculpa de desanimar, mas não são muitas pessoas. E quando você encontra, você tem
Não
esse
são muitas
letramento.
pessoas que... Repete aquilo para mim, só para escrever, que eu fiquei meio...
Não são muitas pessoas pretas e queer. E quando você tem esse letramento racial, toda essa consciência racial, você quer se juntar com essas pessoas e ter ali o seu grupinho, né? Ter o seu grupo. E com isso a gente vai desbravando junto tudo isso, todas essas questões de recorte de raça e de sexualidade também. Eu acho que fazendo coletivos e grupos, a gente consegue mudar alguma coisa assim no sistema. A comunidade mesmo, né? O conceito de comunidade.
So Leandro says, like, well, in the queer community, we have to talk about race, right? It's impossible to also not talk about race. And then he says, like, intersectionality is necessary because we have to analyze everything. And then he says, and then I since I came out, I see myself as a queer person. But then in the community, in the queer community, like being embraced by the queer community, I also saw myself as a Black person. And unfortunately, there is not many Black queer people in these communities. So you always have to find like your little group, because like when you identify as the Black queer person, your words change, even the way you dress change, the music you like change. So like they go changing. And with that identity, you have to find the little ways of expressing yourself through that identity and the group to be familiar with. But but Leandro thinks is the solution to start that Pan-African Union works like this: that sitting together and having conversations and building more and more community where Black queer people will feel comfortable to come out, to be who they are, and to be there. And in my response to that, I think it's super possible. I mean, I'm gonna use an example. Like, I was a smoker for like 10 years. I used to smoke Marlboro Reds, like a pack a day. I still love them. And one day I woke up and I was like, I want to quit smoking and I'm going to go cold turkey. And then I did. So it's been 5 years I don't smoke. And if I do smoke, I almost vomit because I suffered so much when I did cold turkey that I don't want to go back there. Why am I saying that? I'm saying that to like the day that I woke up and I'm like, I'm going to change this in myself. And then I changed.
Yeah.
So the power for the change, it is within us. So of course, it's super possible to have a Pan-African unity, a Pan-American African unity. It's extremely possible. Mm-hmm. The only thing in between us and that is us. Mm-hmm. Is the interchange, because like when Leandro brings up there's not many Black people in the queer communities, it's not because Black people in Brazil are not queer. It's because we need our brothers and sisters from the North that learn that imperialistic way to be like, I'm this and that, and here I am, to come and teach us. Because we in Brazil live in a very patriarchal, machista, horrible European-centered system. People die when they come out. People are assassinated. Brazil is the country that most kills transgender women and homosexual men. So for my people to be able to come out and be comfortable, I would need my relatives of the North saying that everything is okay. Look at us. We succeeded. We did it. Let me hold your hand. But for that, I will need my relatives from the North to actually care, to actually be touched when I say that our country kills the most, the biggest number of transgender women. I would need our northern relatives to care when I say their kids in cage instead of going to a party. Can we go break that shit down? We need people from the US to develop empathy. We cannot develop that for you guys. We need you to develop that in you. And I know it's possible because I quit smoking. It's the hardest thing ever. So like, yeah, Danny's like, man up, yeah, woman up. It's like, it's we need you guys to like open your hearts and develop, JB, of course, and people that are empathetic. I know so many people in America there are, but like I'm saying in the sense that we need the USA people to develop empathy. Yeah. Because the system here is always like putting you down and telling you if you don't have these or that stuff, you are nothing. So you enter that hamster wheel where you have to be working, and only taking care and caring for your own self. That's not the solution. That's individualistic. And I am a fan of the individual. I think the individual has to know who they are, has to know how they feel about everything around This is philosophy. It's how I am impressed and printed by the world I live in, and how that manifests outside of me. That's human being. But that's not individualism in the sense of like, I'm gonna care for mine and me, and the rest can follow through. So we need the US people to hold our hands, because there are things that the Black community in the US that they conquered that we do not have. You know, that the queer community in the US conquered that we do not have. Our last queer in the House of Representatives had to flee the country. I tried to get him in a table here. He would not come. Because he saw his life threatened. He saw his best friend assassinated. Like a freaking blockbuster movie, and no one ever revealed her assassin. We all know it's Bolsonaro, but like Marielle Franco, right, Leandro? A Black queer congresswoman that spoke, I get emotional talking about, spoke truth to power. There is a video that if anybody here knows how to put subtitles, please put for me. It's her speech to her assassin. It's the speech she made in the house the day she was assassinated. She looked him in the eyes. You can see, because in Brazil, you can, because you pay for their salaries, you can go inside the house and watch them vote stuff. It's not like here. He was there threatening her. And she looked into his eyes and she said, I will not be silenced. This was a Black queer woman. And we lost her. And no one will never arrest her assassins. So we need you guys to develop more empathy for our pains. Because for Bolsonaro to be able to kill Marielle and still be the president of Brazil, CIA has to be giving the okay sign, right? So I think the solution for the Pan-American Union and Pan-African Union is in opening our hearts to other people's pains and making that our own. That's decolonizing our minds. That it is decolonizing our minds. It's caring for the other as I care for myself. I guess there is a religious man that said that before me, and he's not white European, he's a Palestinian man, a Black Palestinian man.
Thank you so much, Josana. That was beautiful. That's revolutionary, right? Love is revolutionary. Yeah. Love outside of your bounds of yourself. So we're taking empathy of people who we don't know, right? Remember when everyone was fighting for Bernie a couple years ago and everybody kept saying, are you willing to fight for somebody you don't know? What happened to that? And is that person that you don't know, do you only reserve that for people who are citizens of the United States, or do you reserve that also for people in other countries as well? That's what's revolutionary. Having empathy and fellow feeling for people who aren't like you. And I know we're about to finish up, but think about what the police are doing to our queer family members in places like Brazil. Like, what are they going through in dealing with the police? What are people in other countries and different African countries, like in Rwanda and Congo and Madagascar and all these other countries, what are they going through in dealing with their governments? What about Palestinians, that are dealing with the Israeli government? What about those, of our brothers and sisters in many countries that maybe in Japan or in Indonesia or in Bangladesh that are going through, that may be queer, that are going through these things against their governments. And it's all due to colonialism and imperialism. I think our fellow feeling is what will change things. But we have to be able to say to imperialism, no, we choose to feel again. Right? We have to tell imperialism and white supremacy and patriarchy and things like this, we have to tell them, no, I choose to be human.
Eu acredito que é mesmo criando essas comunidades, porque assim, eles têm as comunidades deles, os grupos deles, as redes de apoio deles, e quando eu falo eles, eu falo as pessoas brancas, heterossexuais, enfim, né, tudo que está ao oposto disso. Eles têm as redes de afeto.
Leandro is saying they have their communities, they have their access, they have their collectives, they have their groups. And he says, when I say they, I'm saying white people. Go ahead, Leandro.
Então, eles têm as tecnologias deles, né, todas as ferramentas, os aparatos, para poder sobreviverem também, da mesma forma que a gente faz, né? E eles têm isso, assim, de prontidão, na mão, né? A gente tem que conquistar tudo isso. Então, é muito diferente uma pessoa queer conquistar a sua comunidade, uma pessoa queer e preta conquistar a sua também, né?
It's really different from like a queer white person to find their community in the queer community than to be a queer black person to find my community, to find my people, right? Because the queer white people, they have their apps, their technology, their everything. We don't. Because I want to just add that in third world countries, being black means being poor. Being non-white means being poor and uneducated, by the way. Go ahead, Leandro.
E do mesmo jeito que eles têm as deles, a gente tem que ter as nossas também para sobrevivência, né? Então, eu acredito que seja com a comunidade, com os grupos, com a gente estando bem, né? Estando com, enfim, com todos os recursos necessários para a gente poder enfrentar tudo isso. E o que a gente encontra na comunidade também, que é o que a gente encontra.
We need to get together to be in community and to be able to fight these controlling assets together, right? As in community. Qual foi a última frase que você falou, Leandro? Se você puder repetir, desculpa.
Que é em comunidade que a gente consegue todos esses aparatos.
It's by being in community that we can have the tools to fight our fight.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I just want to give some, Leandro to say his final words, so that to educate us, so that about what's going on, and also to know where we can find them, where we can follow them.
Ok. Leandro, suas últimas impressões, suas últimas palavras e onde que a gente pode te encontrar, passa o seu info.
Bom, eu amei participar da conversa, eu acho super necessário esses pontos de encontro, essas discussões, né? E, poxa, tá com vocês, são pessoas pretas da América do Norte, é outra cena, né, acontecendo, é outro rolê. E saber de tudo isso também, como que vocês estão quais são as suas ferramentas, as suas tecnologias, o que vocês estão fazendo para poder enfrentar tudo isso, para poder sobreviver também, né? E para todas as pessoas pretas que estão aqui, não desistam. É isso que eles querem, na verdade, né? Que a gente desista, que a gente ceda o espaço. Então, o que a gente tem que fazer com tudo isso é ocupar, estar ali presente, vivo, em movimento. E é isso, cada vez mais nos conhecendo, conhecendo as nossas características, o nosso corpo, a nossa negritude, acima de tudo, né? E é isso, tudo nosso e nada deles. Vocês conseguem me encontrar no Instagram, @afrodemais, e por todas as redes também, é o mesmo user.
So Leandro is saying that his place to be here, and that we can get together and fight the instruments of oppression. Tô fazendo uma interpretação, não me julga. And fight the system of oppression together, and that they are walking the path I laughed because I told him I'm making an interpretation of what you said, because we have the next panel, and I'm like trying to talk to the guests too. That he, like Leandro and all of us should be, but Leandro is walking the path that the ancestors paved, right? We are not alone. They are here with us, holding our hands and following through with us. Leandro is on Instagram and Twitter as Afro Demais. Is there tem letra maiúscula, Leandro, ou só tudo minúsculo?
Não, tudo minúsculo.
Okay, I'm gonna put in the comments here so we can follow Leandro on Instagram and Twitter with that's their at. Muito obrigada, Leandro. Muito obrigada, galera do Brasil que conectou. É um prazer estar aqui com você. Volta sempre, essa casa tá aberta, viu? Fica tranquilo.
Obrigado, eu amei demais. Thank you, JB. I love to see you.
Thank you. Obrigado, Leandro.
That's so beautiful. And let's make a party.
I'm learning.
Yes. And let's make a party and listen to Aretha Franklin, that I love, and let's dance.
Yes.
I love.
They're like, please have Leandro back again. They are so lovely. Oh, you see? Yeah.
Thank you, Aspen Fallon.
Yeah, we definitely will.
Yes.
I have some ideas, Josana. We're going to talk.
We're going to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cute.
To have you here.
Thank you. Kisses.
Tchau, querido. Muito prazer. Obrigada demais por estar aqui com a gente.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.